What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews. We've got a 12-game slate on the NBA. I've got two picks that I've already put down that I'm happy to share with y'all. Plus, we're going to do Daft's Deep Dive, where I go through each game. We talk about key players, matchups, form lines, what I like, what I know, to hopefully give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. Now, before we jump into that, I'm going to ask you all to sign up to Dabble Fantasy, and the reason why, they're giving every new user $25 on sign up. There's no deposit necessary. So go ahead and take advantage of it. There's a massive slate of NFL, a massive slate of NBA. Dabble gives you the opportunity to win 1,000x. Go ahead and check it out. Use the links in the video description below. Now let's go. All right, we're jumping into the one and only Props Madness, the most advanced data tool that you can use when you're betting on NBA player props. This tool is specifically used to bet on basketball and player props with play type analysis, shot zone data. Filtering is absolutely crazy. You guys need to check this out. I've got a 7-day free trial for it in the video description below, and you'll get a 25% discount if you use the code DAFT when you sign up. So go ahead and check that out. The more data this thing collects throughout the season, the better it gets. So go ahead and take a look. Firstly, I got two picks to share with you. The one that I do have is in the initial game. We're looking at Rockets versus the Pistons. Very first game on the slate, so do not miss this. And we're looking at Cade Cunningham here. Now, Cade Cunningham's been very interesting over the past week. Pretty much not covering his points line, but he's been racking up those assists and rebounds. As a matter of fact, in his last 3 games, he's had a triple-double in 3 consecutive games. It's absolutely wild. Now, the good thing about it, when players play like this, we often see their lines tend to go a little bit higher than they normally should be. So, for example, his rebound line is at 6.5. Prior to these sets of games, he had only hit that in 1 of 7. And his assist line is at 8.5. It's the very same thing. Prior to that, he only hit this in 1 out of 7 games. So, what I'm looking to do here is fade some recent results. This assist line is crazy high at 8.5. So I'm actually looking to bet the under here. Under 8.5 assists for Cade Cunningham. And I know I'm a crazy bastard, but you got to get a little bit crazy with it sometimes. I think all the casual bettors probably leap to the over because of how well he's been playing. But what the casual bettors probably don't know is this matchup is going to be difficult as hell. Now, I can use Props Madness to help me out with this. So first, you're looking at his assist line, 8.5. He's averaging 8 on the season. He's hit this in 4 out of 10 games. Very easy, and you can find that across all apps. Now, if we look at his opponent rankings, right? So this blue line here tells us, gives us a ranking on assists allowed. And what we can see, firstly, against the Lakers, Hornets, and Hawks, where he had 10 plus assists, all 3 of these teams are bottom 10 when it comes to assists allowed, meaning they give up assists to everybody. Now, he's up against the Houston Rockets here, and the Houston Rockets so far this season rank number 1 in assists allowed, meaning they allow the fewest assists in the league, meaning that this is a tough as hell matchup for Cade Cunningham. What we could also do is we can eliminate the bottom 10 teams, filter that stuff out, and you can see here, what's Atlanta doing? Atlanta is the 20th team. So they're the 10th team. So if we eliminate the bottom 10 teams in terms of assists allowed, Cade covered this line in 1 of 6 games, averaging 6.8 assists per game. So the fact that it's 8.5, I think it's an assist too high. At 7.5, I'd probably be a little bit hesitant, but at 8.5, more than happy to take the under here. So I do like Cade's under in his assist prop. If we're thinking about how Houston plays defense, they've got some very capable perimeter defenders. Cade Cunningham probably gets the Dylan Brooks matchup. So the Houston Rockets, they'll be very happy to play a one-on-one with Cade Cunningham. I think they force him to score. He takes a lot more shots. I don't think these assists come as easy as they have been. Now, another thing that's important to mention in this 3-game stretch, for the most part, his potential assist numbers, it's not as if they skyrocketed 16, 16, and 21. If we look at his potential assist numbers, outside of that game where he had 21, it hasn't been too much higher than they had been previously. So I do like it. Another thing to really call out here is if we look at pace, opponent's pace, and you can do all that with Props Madness. And what we can see here, in terms of pace, the higher this goes, the blue line, the slower the teams play. The lower that goes, the faster they play. So the Houston Rockets, they play at a slowest pace, bottom 5 in the league. Other teams who play slow, Brooklyn, New York, Philly, and Miami. And in all of these games, Cade Cunningham went under his assist line, whereas teams like the Lakers and the Hawks especially, very fast. meaning more assist opportunities and more possessions in that game. So I think the game's slow. I think Houston make him play one-on-one, and I don't think they let him get the assists up the way he has been getting them. Under 8.5 is my first play of the day with Cade Cunningham. My next play, we're heading to Dallas versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, Nikola Jokic has been an absolute fucking beast this season. Does he get MVP again? Because the numbers he's producing is absolutely freakish. But we're not betting on Nikola Jokic right now. I might, but right now, that's not the bet that I have locked down. I'm actually betting on Daniel Gafford today, and I like his points prop. I took over 10.5 points here for Daniel Gafford. So Daniel Gafford on the season's hit this in 4 out of 9 games. He's averaging 11.4. Right, so nothing spectacular going on. But word around town is that even though Derek Lively is a game time decision, Maxi Kleber is a game time decision, extremely unlikely that they play. Extremely unlikely. So looking at the games without Maxi Kleber and Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford covered in 2 out of 3, averaging 13.3 points per game. Went under against the Pacers, who give up a lot of points to players who attack the rim, not necessarily the man standing under it. Whereas Chicago Bulls, he scored 17 points in 24 minutes, blowout win. Then against Phoenix, scored 15 points in 23 minutes. This game, he had a ton of foul trouble, still managed to get it done. And now he's up against the Denver Nuggets, and the Denver Nuggets have been getting feasted on this season by bigs. If you look at their rankings, in terms of pick and roll man, which is what Daniel Gafford is, Denver, bottom 6 in the league in defending the pick and roll man. And the other spot they like to score is obviously right under the ring. You can see 89% of his points right under the ring. That's a whole lot of dunks and layups for Daniel Gafford. And this Denver Nuggets team, bottom 7 in the league too. If we look at similar types of players against the Denver Nuggets this season, meaning other bigs who just dunk shit near the ring, all of them had excellent games. Jakob Poeltl scored 16, Claxton 16, Rudy Gobert had 17, Kessler had 18, Jakob Poeltl again had 24 points. So there's a 61% point difference between what the player scores and what their average is heading into that game when they play the Denver Nuggets. So this matchup is absolutely ideal. I do love it. Now, there's a slight concern with this. I'll be completely transparent with you, and it's the status of Luka Doncic. He's a game time decision. He's questionable. And my question, is he going to get as many easy shots without Luka there? But I went back, I looked at the numbers, and his shot attempt volume actually improves when Luka's not there. Dallas do move the ball around a lot more. So he does seem to get more touches. Doesn't get easy dunks, but he does touch the ball a lot more. And one-on-one against Nikola Jokic, there's going to be some times where Daniel Gafford can get him. Nikola Jokic is tired half the time he's playing out there. And defensively, we can tell he can't give his all. So Daniel Gafford to go over his points prop, that is my second play. They're the only two I have locked down at the moment as I record this, but waiting on some lineups to be approved, not approved, to be finalized before I make my other plays. But those are the two that I like for now. So before we get into Daft's deep dive, I ask you to do a couple of things for me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know what I fucked that up. Let me know in the comment section what your best bet of the day is. And if you can, you get bonus points if you explain the reason why. Now let's get back into Daft's deep dive, shall we? Let's go. All right, it's Daft's deep dive time. There's a lot of games, so I'm not going to go through too many players in each game, but hopefully I can give you some insights and value to help you make some picks on this upcoming set of games. Let's talk about this Rockets versus Pistons game. I've already spoken about Cade Cunningham, but another person who's probably going to draw a lot of attention here is Jalen Green. Now, Jalen Green, I feel, is probably going to be a popular pick today, and let me explain why. Firstly, his line's at 21.5. This opened at 20.5, so it's already started to move. And it started to move despite having 4 games under this line. 4 pretty poor games. He's averaging 21 points on the season. So his line at 21.5 is not a massive surprise to me. But if we talk about the matchup here against the Detroit Pistons, it's a pretty good one. Now, Jalen Green scores a lot of his points in the pick and roll. Almost 10 points a game come out of the pick and roll for him. And the Detroit Pistons, not very good at defending the pick and roll at all. He also likes to score his points above the break, which is like a lot of guards this season. And Detroit, middle of the pack in terms of defending above the break. Now, Jalen Green, the reason why I call those things out is if we look at the matchups he's had as of late, a lot of them have been very difficult. If we just look at the pick and roll stuff, we can see he's played the Warriors and OKC in this stretch, and they were the worst games he's had this season. 7 points against the Warriors, 14 against OKC. Both of those teams one of the best in the league at defending pick and rolls and above the break, right? So that's one thing I wanted to call out. And if we look at the games where he's done well in, these teams don't defend the, the pick and roll very well at all. Memphis, especially, the Spurs are terrible at it. But he does see an excellent matchup, and that's what this blue line in this graph represents. He's got a great matchup here against the Detroit Pistons, and if we look at how he performed against them last season, 22 and 28 points in the 2 games against Detroit, and I think safe to say that Jalen Green does look a little bit better this year than he did last. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go over. So I do like the over with Jalen Green. The concern for me, it's probably going to be the popularity of it. A lot of people had booked Jalen Green in from the jump. So outside of the fact that everyone's betting on it, I think it's a good play. You're kind of getting a lower line because of how bad he has been playing lately. But he's had some very difficult matchups, and he's got a much easier one today against the Detroit Pistons. So I do like that. I don't think that's such a bad look. Let's take a look at the Celtics versus the Bucks here. Now, when I looked at this initially, I was like, oh, this has got to be a Dame game, right? Now, Damian Lillard, his points line's at 26.5. He's averaging 27 points on the season. He's hit this in 6 out of 9 games. He's got a very good matchup as well. Dame scoring in the pick and roll above the break 3. Very common for a lot of ball handlers. Now, Boston, one of the worst teams in the league at defending the pick and roll, and they're mid when it comes to defending above the break, mid-tier. But Boston, they allow points in the pick and roll to the ball handler somewhat intentionally. They kind of shut down everybody else, and they're going to force Damian Lillard to play Drew Holiday or Derek White one-on-one as often as he likes. Because of this, Damian Lillard seems to perform well in these matchups. He scored 33 points against Boston earlier this season. Boston still won that game by 11. Dame got to the line a lot. Didn't shoot the greatest, but he got to the free throw line a lot in that game. And so the matchup is nice, and he's clearly capable of it, right? Scored 19 against the Knicks. He hasn't put together 2 bad games back-to-back all season. So I definitely lean to the over in this one. The reason why I didn't take it, if I'm going to be transparent with you, is I looked at the head-to-head numbers last season. He went over in 2 out of 4 games against Boston. Their defense was very much the same last season. And what I found interesting was Dame Lillard went over this line in both of the road games in Boston. The games when they played in Milwaukee, he happened to go under in both of those. And that's just what happens to be where this game's going to be played for this one. So you can see home games, 16 points per game. On the road against Boston, whoops, clicked the wrong button. On the road against Boston, 29.5. So it's a bit of a weird one, and probably a weird reason not to take it, but, trying to be ultra conservative today with all of my picks. So Dame, I honestly do love the matchup. I completely get it. It's an automatic lean to the over whenever Boston are playing a scoring guard of this type. But the home and away splits from last season against Boston, they do scare me a little bit. So I decided not to bet on Dame. Jaylen Brown looks like he's going to be back. So good for you Boston fans out there, but it even makes it more difficult for people like myself who are trying to find an edge when it comes to betting. Because this Boston Celtics team is hard to bet on as it is, given how many different scorers they have. So let's see how we go. But I'm having a quick look at RotoWire at the moment, just to double check the lineups to see what's going good. So Jaylen Brown is a game time decision. He's not guaranteed to play. So if you're betting on the Boston Celtics, I probably just wouldn't bet at all right now. Wait to see what the lineup's going to be, because these Tatum lines can move real quick. Same as Derek White, Drew Holiday, everyone's going to move. So I'd probably pump the brakes on that. For the Bucks, Giannis is a game time decision, but it looks like he's likely to play. But yeah, if you're betting on Boston, I'd just wait. If you're betting on anyone on the Bucks, I think Dame, great matchup. That one makes the most sense. But feel free to check it out. Do your own research, please. Next, we've got the Knicks versus the Pacers. Andrew Nembhard's a game time decision, as well as Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell. For the Knicks, McBride and Cam Payne are game time decisions as well. The Knicks haven't had too much success betting on any of their player props as of late, but I think the person that comes to mind for me is probably Karl-Anthony Towns. Scoring-wise, somewhat inconsistent. He's had some really big games, but he does have an excellent matchup here against the Pacers. He did only score 21 points against them last time. Only took 11 shots, blowout win from the Knicks, but he scored 21 points in 32 minutes. His rebounds, he's been rebounding extremely well, but that line's at 11.5, but he had 15 rebounds against the Pacers last time. So the Pacers, Not playing with as much pace this season, believe it or not, but they're still allowing a ton of rebounds. So I think the rebounds for Karl Anthony Towns could be a good look here against the Pacers. The spread's only 3 points. So if we see a much closer game than we saw last time, Karl Anthony Towns probably plays about 38 minutes. 38 minutes, probably getting a ton of rebounds, right? Fuck. So just broke it down. Karl Anthony Towns only played what, 33 plus minutes in 2 games. Miami and Atlanta, 13 and 16 boards. In the other games, they got blown out here. Against the Cavs, he only played 32 minutes. They blew out the Detroit Pistons. He had 11 rebounds in 27 minutes. And then they blew out the Bucks, and he only played 32 minutes in that game. So if we think the Pacers can keep it close, they're 4-5 on the season. They're not doing too bad. The Knicks are 4-4. If the Pacers can keep this close, then I think Karl Anthony Towns rebounds is free money. I don't say so myself. Best odds at the moment are DraftKings plus 100, plus money play for Karl Anthony Towns to get some rebounds. I honestly don't think that's such a bad look. Real quick, let's take a look at Tyrese Halliburton. Mainly, let's have a look at his assists. His assist line's at 8.5. He's covered this quite well as a late. 5 out of his last 6 games, he's gone over his assist line. Last game against the Knicks, though, only had 5 assists, 10 potential assists. I guess if TJ McConnell and Nembhard are out for this game, then I think you've got to take a look at the over for Tyrese Halliburton assists. He's going to get a massive work rate. But until the lineups are confirmed, I'd probably be a little bit hesitant around it because with TJ McConnell and Nembhard playing, Tyrese Halliburton has been playing off the ball quite a bit. It does give them an extra spot-up shooter on the court, so he's playing the 2-guard a lot more when these guys are playing. So more of a warning, I guess, for Tyrese Halliburton. But also, if McConnell and Nembhard are out, then jump on Tyrese Halliburton assists. I think that's a really good look. Let's get into the next game. It's a Wizards versus the Magic. Take a look at Franz Wagner. He's been killing it as of late. So in this game, we've got the Orlando Magic, 9.5-point favorites. Now for Franz, I initially leaned to the over. I've been leaning on his over for these last 2 games where he killed it, and I didn't take the bet either time. The line's moved up to 24.5, and it leaves me a little bit hesitant, but I still lean to the over, and here's why. Firstly, Washington, we know they're not a great defense. Third worst defensive rating so far this season. Bottom 10 in points in the paint. Bottom points as spot-up shooters. Their defense sucks, right? And Franz, he likes to score his points from spot-up shooting, but he's doing more scoring as a pick-and-roll ball handler than scoring in transition with Banchero out of the lineup. He also gets to the free throw line. In this Washington team, they foul a ton. And out of all the players on this Magic roster, there's not too many that can create their own shot. So Franz, he's definitely the lead man. He's going to see a ton of opportunities. Game total scheduled for 220, so it should be somewhat high scoring, and I think Franz can definitely chip in 25 points. The blowout, is that a risk? Absolutely, but we saw against this Pelicans team in the last game, I think he scored, 20 points by halftime. So Franz, I think he gets busy, and he gets busy early. I do like his points prop, but I'm also probably considering playing like Franz for 20 points, Magic money line perhaps. I don't know what type of odds that's going to get me, but try to shore things up a little bit because these lines can be a little bit sharp, but I definitely lean to the over for Franz Wagner on his points prop. So I think that could be a good look. Another interesting look could be this guy, Goga Bitadze. Now, he's recently seeing more minutes because Wendell Carter Jr. is out. They've got Mo Wagner, but he hasn't been very good as a starter, so they prefer to keep him on the bench, whereas Goga been playing quite well, and his rebound prop has been very interesting to me. But 9.5, he's hit this in the 3 big games that he's played. He's only hit this once. At the same time, Washington, not a great rebounding team whatsoever. So they're going to brick a whole lot of shots, and Bitadze can definitely get some up there. But who knows? I could just run Franz for 20 and then this guy for 8 boards, perhaps, in the same game parlay, get me close to plus money, I think. And if I need to, we can put in the Magic money line in there. So I think that could be a real interesting look. Another one that I considered is this guy. He let me down last time, but Bilal Coulibaly, his point line's down to 12.5. It's normally at 14.5 with Kuzma out of the lineup. But his matchup against the Magic is tough as hell. So as much as I want to bet him, I'm not going to. Let's jump into the next game, see if we can find any value there. It's Miami Heat versus Minnesota Timberwolves. Jaime Jaquez, a game time decision for Miami in this game. Jimmy Butler is also out. So I'm sure we can find some value, but you do have to just play around with the tool and get players going in and out of lineups and see where you get the edge. But let's talk about Anthony Edwards real quick. 26.5 is the line. He's averaging 29 points per game this season. What can we say about him? The matchup for him, somewhat difficult. The Miami Heat, pretty good in defending the pick and roll, especially Bam being the big man, capable of defending on the perimeter as well. But if we take a look at how they defend above the break, not very good. They're bottom 10, the Miami Heat. I actually love this matchup here for Anthony Edwards. He's been killing it this season, and I think in games like this, against some pretty strong competition, Anthony Edwards can turn it up. The spread's 7.5 in this one. No Jimmy does make a bit of a difference, but Anthony Edwards, I do like his over. The above the break stuff matters more than the pick and roll stuff when it comes to someone like Anthony Edwards, because he can also, if that pick and roll breaks down, you can get them working in the isolation, which you can see is his second highest scoring play type. So this matchup for Anthony Edwards is a good one. I think I raised it on a previous video where if the competition he's up against is absolute dog shit, then sometimes Anthony Edwards doesn't put in the effort, I'd say. You can see it here against Charlotte. Only attempted 11 shots. Against the Spurs, it was 8 for 17. And then against the Raptors, he actually played bad in that game, 9 for 21, but he did make 5 3-pointers, which is wild. But he's up against Miami today. And Miami, missing Jimmy Butler, is one of their better perimeter defenders, I'd say. They've got a backcourt of Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, and they might have Jaime Jaquez. I just don't think they have anybody on their roster right now who can hang with Anthony Edwards. I think the matchup is delicious for him, so I think he can definitely go to work. And I do like his over. Anthony Edwards definitely leaning to his over in his points prop. But without Jimmy Butler, who pops off? That is the question. So let's take a look at last season's data, firstly, to see who plays the best with Jimmy Butler out of the lineup. Tyler Hero, without Jimmy Butler in the lineup, where he plays at least, let's go to at least 30 minutes. 18 games without Jimmy Butler playing more than 30 minutes for Tyler Hero. He averaged 20 points per game. His line in this game is at 22.5, and he's got a tough-ass matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. If we look at the regular season, he actually 21.7, 6 out of 12 games he went to the over in this, and that's all without Jimmy. Let's take a look at Bam to see what he does without Jimmy. And last season, without Jimmy, actually played a lot of games. Let's go where he plays more than 30 minutes. That doesn't change a damn thing. All right. So Bam could be our guy. He could be our guy. All right. So he actually played 20 games without Jimmy Butler last season during the regular season. He went over this points line 15 out of 20 games, averaging 21.6. His line in this game is at 18.5. So Bam could be an interesting look. Let's take a look at how he's performed so far this season. Only covered this line twice. This game against Washington, that's when Eric Spoelstra came out and said we need to get Bam more involved in the offense. Since then, his shot volume's up like crazy. 24, 15, 21, and then 18 shot attempts. So the volume's definitely there. He's getting aggressive with it. And he's going to be up against Rudy Gobert today, who's a good help defender. But as a primary defender, I don't think he can hang with Bam. I think Bam can definitely eat him up. So Bam scores his points in the pick and roll. He scores in the restricted area, gets to the free throw line. He can work in the isolation as well. We can see here that this Minnesota team, not great at defending the paint. And Bam absolutely lives in there. So I think the over for Bam Adebayo could be a really good look. I do like that one as well. Shit, I never thought I'd say that about a Miami Heat player. Let's take a quick look at Terry Rozier, actually. I want to see what his numbers look like without Jimmy Butler last season. These are his games without Jimmy, where he plays more than 30 minutes, and where he actually, this might be capturing. Let me take a look. Yeah, this is capturing his Charlotte games. So we need to do it with who's someone that bloody played every single game for Miami last season. You could say with Tyler, because Tyler's going to be playing. So he had one game without Jimmy, he had 2 games without Jimmy and with Tyler Hero. And 26 in one game. Actually, it was only one game against Boston, actually. So there's not a big sample size here for Terry Rozier. But I actually might just want to run back the same numbers just to be safe. With Hero, without Jimmy last season. And in his last 20 games for Bam Adebayo, with Tyler Hero, without Jimmy Butler, 21 points per game. He hit this in 14 out of 20. So the hit rate's still very nice. I do like that. Rebounding wise, still pretty inconsistent as hell. One of these games actually involves a game against the Timberwolves, where he played with Tyler Hero, without Jimmy Butler. He finished on 19 points. The Heat were blown out by 16 points in that game. 5 from 10 from the free throw line, 7 for 14 from the field. So he left some meat on the bone there. Bam Adebayo could be set for a big game. I actually like that. Thank you, Props Madness. So Anthony Edwards and Bam Adebayo, some good looks. I apologize if I keep repeating myself, but I'm doing that so I don't forget it. Because as soon as this video is done, you know what I'm about to do. I'm going to lock that shit in. Oh, speaking of locking shit in, if you're interested in checking out my free picks and you're interested in what I land on after I do all this research, go ahead, check out the link down below. It's for Winnable. It says, get my free picks here. Click on that. Go to the free section. And subscribe to that, and you'll get an email or a text notification whenever I've posted my plays. So my free plays tend to get most of my straight bets. My VIP stuff, it's all advanced parlays, all that type of stuff. But for the most part, you'll be very satisfied with a free play, and I can guarantee you that. Now let's talk about the next game. It's the Warriors versus the Thunder. Warriors must be smarting after getting smoked against the Cavs. OKC 8-1 on the season. No changes in their lineups. Golden State looking pretty healthy. OKC, they're missing the same guys they've been missing all season. So let's talk about it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, point signs at 28.5 in this game. Moved up quick, averaging 26 on the season, covering this line in only 3 games. Up against the Warriors, and he's got a tough as hell matchup. Both of these teams are great defensively, right? So you'll see me saying that they're tough matchups on both sides. But at the end of the day, about 210, 220 points are going to be scored in this game. People are going to get buckets. So don't let the matchups fool you. But for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, scores in the pick and roll, gets the restricted area. Golden State Warriors, third fewest points under the rim in the restricted area, and they're also the third best team at defending pick and roll ball handlers. Now, just because it's a difficult matchup, I'm not saying that I'd avoid it, but we check to see if he's had difficult matchups throughout this season. So let's filter this out using Props Madness to the teams who are the top 10 in pick and roll defense. He's actually had a pretty easy run. The only team that he's played that's top 10 in pick and roll defense from the ball handler is the Denver Nuggets, and he scored 28 points in both of those games. Actually, this is the restricted area. My bad. Oh, hang on. No. Let me take that back. This is pick and roll defense. So what if we looked at if he's played any teams that are top 10 defending the restricted area? He's played 3 games. Atlanta, killed them. Clippers 25 and Orlando Magic 21. So we don't have the sample size to make a straight up call on this. If I had to be a casual about it and I didn't know anything about this, I'd say this is a big game. Shai plays a lot of minutes, but the spread's 7 here, so there could still be a OKC blowout. He's still going to get his shots up. I'd probably lean to the over, but I'm not a big fan of betting such high lines. 28.5, like you can get caught a la Luka Doncic, right? Everybody bet on Luka Doncic against the Phoenix Suns. Everyone. Oh, I didn't, but look, that doesn't make me good. I still lost my bets on other things, but everyone bet on Luka at 29.5. It got to 30, got to 31.5, and he finished on 30. So not overly interested in betting on the lines that are quite high, but Chet Holmgren, his line's only at 16.5. He's averaging 18 on the season. Scored 29 on the Rockets. His matchup against the Warriors is somewhat difficult as well, but if we look at how he performed against them last season, he averaged 23 points per game in 4 games against the Warriors. Had a game where he scored 36 points against them too. But at the same time, the Warriors are a better defensive team this season. But Chet at 16.5, without even looking at the data, that's something I'd definitely look to lean at the over. Looking at his rebound prop, 9.5 here for Chet. And the Warriors, they do allow a lot of rebounds, though. So that could be an interesting look. I'd probably lean to the over for his points plus rebounds. That's at 26.5, though. Yeah, it's not a real clear pick. Like, I definitely lean that way. But you've got a game where it's 2 really strong defensive teams. I think the value is probably in betting in an under. And if OKC are favored to win this game by at least 7, I hate to say it, but Steph Curry, we probably need to bet the under here. 23.5. He's only hit that in 2 games this season. He versed the Cavs, which is a good defense. Obviously, it was a blowout, but he only scored 12 points in that game. Now he's up against OKC, and they're a better defense than the Cavs. So Steph, pick and roll ball handler, scoring above the break threes, right? The OKC Thunder, top 2 defending the pick and roll, and they are number 1 in the league, limiting 3-pointers made above the break. So this matchup for Steph, probably going to be tough as hell. They're clearly going to zone in on him. He's going to see a bit of Dorchard Chamber, a bit of Caruso, maybe some SGA time on him. So it's a really tough matchup. Out of curiosity, let's check Steph's numbers against OKC last season. 30, 25, and 34 points. How dare you try to fade greatness, you freaking bald bastard. But Steph Curry killed them last season. But looking at their rankings last season, in defending the pick and roll, OKC, they're a top 17. So still pretty good. Defending above the break, they were 10th. So it was a somewhat difficult matchup last season, but OKC is so much better at defending it this season. But given Steph's history to killing them, and he had a pretty poor game against Cleveland, this could be a bounce back spot. So I'm probably not too excited to bet the under there. And given the lines for these other players are relatively low, I probably wouldn't want to bet the under. Andrew Wiggins, actually, he's a little bit soft, right? But yeah, they do give up some points to spot up shooters. They're happy to take it away from the pick and roll ball handlers, but they let spot up shooters take them. So yeah, probably no bets on that Thunder game. Probably just enjoy the spectacle. Next one, we've got the Hornets versus the Sixers. Most Hornet games I tend to bet on because they don't play defense. So there's probably some good opportunities here. And I do have a lean on this one, actually. So we'll talk about that in a sec. Firstly, looking at the lineups, Bridges is out. For the Hornets, Richards and Williams are still out, so they're lacking some size at the center spot, lacking some size in their front court altogether, to be honest with you. So Andre Drummond could probably get 100 rebounds in this game. That's a real casual take, but we'll have a look at Andre Drummond. And for Philly, no Maxey, no Embiid. They do have Paul George, but apparently he is on a minutes restriction because he said so himself. So no real mystery there. And it looks like his minutes restriction is probably 25 to 30 minutes. That wasn't clear. I forgot what it was. But let's take a look. Let's look at Paul George firstly. So he's played 3 games this season, 15, 18, and 9 points from PG, 29% from the field in 1 game, 78 against the Lakers, but then 31% against the Lakers, 78% against the Clippers. So his line's at 18.5. He's up against the Charlotte Hornets today. Not the best team defensively, but they are improved compared to last season. And PG scoring a lot of his points in the mid-range at the moment. It's a pretty ineffective shot, if you ask me. Not even if you ask me. Everybody knows that. So he's scoring a lot of his points in the mid-range, which means he's probably not shooting the deep ball very well. 1 from 7, 2 from 3, and then 0 from 6. So yeah, he's not shooting very well from downtown. I'm not overly keen on betting on Paul George at this point in the season, 3 games back from an injury, so I'll pass on that. But this guy is someone I did lean on, Kelly Oubre, and that's purely because we have a sample size of data. Now, his line's at 18.5. He's gone under this in 6 straight games. He's averaging 16 points per game this season. The last game against the Lakers was the only game he's played without Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid this season. Still took 16 shots. He just shot poorly, 4 from 16. And if you look at last season's data and we look at the games without Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, we can see here that he's played 8 games without Maxey and Embiid last season. He averaged 25 points per game. He covered this line in 7 out of 8 games. So those numbers are pretty good for Kelly Oubre, but you also have to factor in that Paul George is on this team. So if you add Paul George to the equation here, you're looking at maybe 10 to 15 shots still going somewhere else, which is a part of the reason why I didn't take the bet. But I do think it's a really interesting look here for Kelly Oubre. I think he's going to get the volume, but the matchup is not exactly the best. The Charlotte Hornets team, they do well to stop spot-up shooters from scoring. They don't really defend people on the ball or pick and rollers very well, which is why someone like Andre Drummond could do a little bit of damage here. His point line's at 11.5, and he's only averaging 9 points per game this season. The bookmakers set the line this high for a reason, and he's probably going to kill him inside. Now, Andre Drummond scores all of his points. Not all of them, that's a lie. But 95% of his points come in the paint. because he did happen to make a 1 3-pointer. But he scores most of his points in the paint. And you can see here right under the rim, this Charlotte Hornets defense is absolutely terrible. The concern for me is we had similar types of players, not necessarily kill them down there. We've had some centers have some strong games, but Andre Drummond, is he that guy? He's not necessarily a focal point on offense. He's probably have to get the rebounds himself. And with actually with Kyle Lowry on there, it could be a good play for him to get some assists. Kyle Lowry could actually get some assists, but we'll take a look at Kyle Lowry. But if you're betting on Andre Drummond, it's got to be on the boards. 12.5 is the line. He's only hit this twice this season. Charlotte Hornets don't allow too many rebounds, surprisingly. But yeah, would it be surprised to see Andre Drummond go off? There's just no data to back it up. So it's a real casual take. But let's look at Kyle Lowry and his assist prop. His line's at 5.5. Without Tyrese Maxey, it's only been one game, but he had 12 potential assists in 6 assists in 32 minutes against the Lakers. Now, the Lakers, they're a pretty easy matchup when it comes to assists allowed. So he's up against the Hornets, so it doesn't necessarily get much easier for Kyle Lowry. I think the difference here is the Lakers won that game. They were pretty much in control of it the whole time, whereas this Hornets game, Philadelphia are favorites here, so they probably find a way to get easier buckets. And I think at 5.5, it's plus money to the over as well. Kyle Lowry to get some assists could probably be a good look, but again, it's a very limited sample size, but it's definitely the way that I'd be leaning. If you look at last season's data, we'll see what the data looks like with and without Embiid and Maxey. Without Embiid and Maxey last season, what do we got here? Let's do with, hang on. He's got his Miami numbers in here. Now that ain't good. All right, now let's change this to include Kelly Oubre, who doesn't miss games. All right, 4 games for Kyle Lowry without Maxey, without Embiid, but with Kelly Oubre. Average 6.3 assists. So yeah, the sample size is not great. It's not positive, so I'm going to choose not to touch it. And if we're looking at the Charlotte Hornets, you got to look at LaMelo Ball, right? So LaMelo Ball up against the 76ers. The matchup's not the best in terms of the 76ers. Decent defending the pick and roll. Pretty good at limiting points from above the break threes. What is a problem for the 76ers, though, is they give up points in the paint. That's a big thing. They foul a lot, and they give up a lot of points in the points in the paint. My God, English is my second language. I apologize. Now, LaMelo does score some points in the paint. Don't get me wrong, but he does score a lot of his points above the break. So matchup-wise, not the best, but I'm not saying to bet he's under. 28.5 is high, though, and it just happens to be what he's averaging this season. So no massive look there. His assist line's at 7.5. He's only hit this twice this season. But at the same time, Philly give up a lot of assists, right? The problem is with no bigs to lob the ball to, no Bridges to pass it to. I would say his options are limited in how he gets these assists. So I'm a bit hesitant to bet on LaMelo Ball there. Brandon Miller, though, could be some upside for him. His line's at 19.5. Had a great game against Indiana, scoring 29 points. Up against the 76ers, and his matchup somewhat difficult. Someone who scores off screen, someone who's shooting from above the break. Like the 76ers, pretty good at defending that type of stuff. And you think about who's playing against, it's probably Kelly Oubre, probably Paul George, or could be Caleb Martin, right? All very good wing defenders, which is partly why Philly do so well on these wings. They're pretty soft against people who are willing to get down in the paint, get busy. The Charlotte Hornets don't have anyone who does that. So a really interesting game. I'm probably not going to bet on anybody in it, if I'm being honest with you. But those are just some of the insights. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's talk about the Mavs versus the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic. So Aaron Gordon is still out for this game. Jokic has lines of 28.5 points, 10.5 assists, 12.5 rebounds. My goodness. Let's talk about his points prop real quick. Jokic scoring all of his points in the paint. Most of them anyway. Scoring in the post as well. Up against Dallas, bottom 10 in defending the post, but top 10 in limiting points in the paint in the restricted area. Nikola Jokic, look, I think he's that good. There's no one that can really stop him. It depends, does he want to score or not? Now, will he need to score 28.5 points? Probably not. I got this vibe, and I'm going to double check this right now, that when he plays against the Dallas Mavericks, it's like triple-double season. Let's check his numbers. One game, he had 33 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists. The next game, blowout win, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Then another game, he had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. So relatively quiet, actually, in the matchups against Dallas last season. But Nikola Jokic, you're not going to get much value on like like you are getting value, but this guy has to do so much in order for you to hit that. Like his assist line at 10.5. Yes, he is averaging 11 assists per game at the moment, but 10.5 is just crazy. It's such a sweaty thing to bet. I think I just enjoy the spectacle of watching him play. I don't want to bet on this guy to get a triple double at plus money odds. Like that's just crazy. So I'll have to pass on that. But someone you can probably break down is Jamal Murray. He just came back from injury against Miami in a tough matchup, and he shot the lights out. 53%, 4 from 10 from deep, scored 28 points. It was wild. But he's up against Dallas, and it is a difficult matchup once again. So I wouldn't put it past him to keep going. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him score barely nothing, right? I think Christian Braun's an interesting look because he's been consistent AF. If you don't know what AF means, he's been consistent as fuck, Christian Braun. So his point line's at 13.5. He's averaging 16.5 this season. He scores in transition and he gets to the basket, right? But if we look at the Dallas Mavericks, pretty good at defending in transition, based on the data anyway. And they're not bad at limiting points at the basket, having Gafford in there. But positive to that is they're only going to be running Gafford and Powell. Their rim protection is a little bit soft without Lively in the lineup. So someone like Christian Braun could definitely take advantage of that. His shot volume is not a well, actually the shot volume is a worry, but given the types of shots that he's taking, he's shooting a very high percentage. And with no Aaron Gordon in the lineup, he's pretty much locked in to play at least 35 minutes every single night. So I think Christian Braun over his points prop, if you can get it at 13.5, is money. Some places have it at 14.5, but at 13.5, look, it's definitely something that you can muck around with. Just like based on the season data, Dallas, they're not absolute kings when it comes to defense, even though they've improved. In terms of points in the paint, they're middle of the pack, and there's no Derek Lively in the lineup, so I think it gets a little bit easier. But a weak point for Dallas here is actually in rebounds. They give up a lot of boards, fifth most boards in the league. Christian Braun gets 4.5 rebounds a game. I know what a wagon is that a lot of people have been betting is this. Christian Braun over his points plus rebounds. I can definitely see that happening in this game. So it's a real casual take. All it comes down to is minutes and opportunities. We can definitely book Christian Braun in for those. I do like it. And he's the only player on this team that has that type of style doing what he does. And we know Aaron Gordon, they're going to need someone to put pressure on the paint. So I think that's a pretty good look. Luka, he's a game time decision after getting injured. 31.4 is his line. He's only hit this in 3 games this season, averaging 28. Against Denver last season, let's take a look. 34, 38, and 37. Now, I'm not saying bet the over on Luka because he did that last season, because that's the reason why people bet the over in the game against Phoenix, right? But what you have to understand is that this season is different. Teams change, schemes change. Some players develop, some players do not. I don't know. There's just a whole lot of changes. So I don't put too much stock into last season's data. It does help me a little bit, but we also need to. Luka is injured. You're going to say an injured groin strain. You're still going to take his over at 31.5. Like, I think what's going to happen here with Luka being so injured, not so injured, but being limited, is going to result in a lot more threes. So you might want to look at his over in 3.5 3-pointers made because he's going to bomb it more because he doesn't want to attack the basket. If I'm betting on Luka Doncic, that's the way that I'm looking right now. So, but I'm not. I don't want to, knowing that he's injured. But Kyrie, that could be an interesting look. Let's take a look at Kyrie Irving real quick. His point sign's at 25.5. I need this to refresh because it's stuck on his 3-pointers made prop. Let's go, Kyrie. Where are we at? Jeez, we're getting through this nice and quickly. I'm not even close to tired, boys. Kyrie, 25.5. It looks like his data's not loading. What the hell? I wonder if it's somebody else's. Daniel Gafford. Actually, you know what's happening here? They've suspended the markets because of the Luka Doncic news. Nice. Okay. We'll pass on the Mavericks game and we'll get into the next one. We've got the Sacramento Kings versus the Phoenix Suns. Actually, we are back. Had some technical difficulties, but we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Kyrie Irving, 25.5 points. He's hit this in 4 out of 9 games. He just had 29 against the Phoenix Suns. The matchup for Kyrie, somewhat difficult because Denver, pretty good at defending the pick and roll. They're not good at defending the rollers here, but they do give up points above the break, which is where Kyrie excels. I think given Luka's currently injured, I think an assist prop for Kyrie could be an interesting look. Now, he's averaging 4.8 this season. He's covered this assist line in 5 out of 9. And he's up against the Denver Nuggets, who allow the most assists per game. And we already know, because I'm betting on Daniel Gafford, they give up a lot of assists to the rollers. Plus, they're going to give up a lot of three-pointers as well. Bottom 3 in terms of three-pointers allowed. So I think the assist play could be a good look here for Kyrie. If we check to see how he did against them last season, look at that. 7 and 9 assists. Potential assists not sky high, but it means the quality of the assists is high, which means a lot of dunks, probably a lot of layups as well. So Kyrie assists could be an interesting look in these games. 13 and 11 potential assists. I wonder what he's doing these days. In his last game, 10 potential assists, 8 against the Bulls, 7 against the Pacers, but he went to work probably in ISO. Yeah, you got to just pick the right game with Kyrie because the capability is definitely there. But I think this is more of a narrative bet than anything. If Luka is hampered or if Luka is out, then Kyrie assists at this line is absolute money. So let's take a quick look at this, the data of games without Luka Doncic last season. Check that out. 7 games without Luka last season, averaged 7.4 assists, covering this line in every single one of them. Potential assist numbers, 19, 22, 12, 12, 14, 5, and 5, and 13. So, the assist rate for Kyrie absolutely skyrockets when Luka's not there. Luka is somewhat injured at the moment. He's not hiding that. He makes that very obvious. So I think even if he does play, there's going to be some limitations on the way that Luka plays. And I think that really brings Kyrie's assists into the game. So I think Kyrie assists is fucking beautiful. I got my first Kyrie bet of the season, I think. Give me that. I don't mind it. Tell me what you think. You guys on the Kyrie train or not? It's a brave play, but it does coincide well with the Daniel Gafford play. So I do like that. Kyrie over his assist prop. Let's go. Shit, I need to remind myself. There are 3 plays that I like already. What are they? Kyrie assists. They are. Fuck. I should have wrote this down. It's Bam Adebayo and Anthony Edwards. All right, let's go. Apologies. You got to hear me think out loud, and that's what rings through my mind. We get the Kings versus Suns. I'm fucking going crazy. Kings versus Suns. And for the Kings, no changes to their lineups. For Phoenix, Yusuf Nurkic is out. He's a game time decision, sorry. But Kevin Durant is out. So we have to look at Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Kevin Durant doesn't miss too many games. So let's take a look. Firstly, the spread in this game. Phoenix still 1.5 point favorites. Let's look at D-Book last season. Was there any games where Kevin Durant missed? And there was 7 games without KD last season. Devin Booker covered this line 3 times. One of those games was against the Sacramento Kings where he scored 28. So the line's at 29.5. He did cover this 3 times. He averaged 27 points per game. So what does that tell us? That I don't necessarily love the line for Devin Booker. What could be an interesting look is probably his assists because you could assume that the number of possessions he's going to get is going to skyrocket. And his assist numbers over his last 5 have been great. He's covered this in 4 out of his last 5 games, which is delicious. Check his assist numbers out. 8.8 assists per game in his last 5. No KD in this one. Does that mean he gets more assists? Potentially. It gives us 1 less scorer to pass to, though. But let's do this again. Shit, I should have left this here. Without KD, his assist numbers, he averaged 7.3 assists per game, had 7 assists against the Kings last season. So yeah, Devin Booker assists could be a good look. I don't like betting on Devin Booker though, not gonna lie to you. Let's check out Bradley Beal last season without Kevin Durant. He played 4 games. He covered this points line of 20.5, 3 out of 4 of those suckers. So pretty good scoring there for Bradley Beal. His assist rate, don't know what the hell's going on there. So nothing too magical happening. So if I had to bet on Devin Booker, I think the assist is a good look. I don't like either of them to score, even though one of them probably will because they have to. There's no data that tells me that they will. And based off my vibes I think someone who's going to catch and shoot probably has an advantage. I honestly think, like, in this Phoenix game, someone like a Royce O'Neal or a Ryan Dunn, if he plays, they can score a lot of points on the Sacramento Kings team. And that's because if we take a look at it, the Sacramento Kings team, they give up a lot of points to spot up shooters. It's probably more up Bradley Beal's alley. He's scoring most of his points as a spot up shooter this season. But the Sacramento Kings, the worst team in the league at defending spot up shooters so far this season. So Bradley Beal look could be nice. You could look at his 3-pointers made, but he hasn't been shooting them very well as of late. That's my only hesitation. But let's look at these Sacramento Kings. Fucking a lot of these Sacramento Kings that you need to look at, don't you? We got D Fox, 24.5. He's averaging 24.6 this season, covering this line in 4 out of 9. The matchup, not a bad one here. Phoenix Suns, one of the worst teams in the league at defending pick and roll ball handlers, and that's where De'Aaron Fox does score quite a few of his points. So the matchup right there isn't too bad. But Phoenix, pretty good top 10 defensive rating. So, yeah, the matchup's not the best. It's not the worst either. D Fox, does he get the volume? Paul, who's it? Maybe a Tyson Jones. Maybe he gets a bit of Bradley Beal action defending him. I wonder who picks up that assignment. But they're going to have a long night. D Fox, fast as ever. But I've got no lean on his points. His assist prop, my God, how do you pick this? He's not really getting too many potential assists at the moment. He's getting less than 10 in his last 5 games, but the line's at 4.5. So yeah, D Fox, I'd probably lean to the under on his PRA, to be honest. He's only hit the PRA of 35 in 3 games this season. I'd probably lean that way, but there's probably better picks out there. We've got DeMar DeRozan, point signs at 22.5, hitting in 7 out of 9 games on the year, averaging 24 points. Up against Phoenix, his matchup is somewhat difficult. Phoenix don't allow too many points in the mid-range. DeMar DeRozan lives in the mid-range. So, at the same time, DeMar DeRozan is DeMar DeRozan, right? Consistent as they come. So you'd be a brave man to bet the under. There's no clear sign here that you should. We can take a look at Domantas Sabonis in every stat category here, 17.5. And I think an interesting look is whether Yusuf Nurkic plays or not. Nurkic is a very big body down there. And he can impact someone like Domantas Sabonis. So he scores in the pick and roll. He scores in the restricted area. Phoenix has been pretty good at defending both of those this season, but I wonder how well they're going to do without Yusuf Nurkic. If we look at the head-to-head games he's had against Phoenix last season, scored extremely well against them, covering in 4 out of 5 games. So wonderful hit rate for Domantas Sabonis to score on the Phoenix Suns, despite the matchups. Looking at his assist numbers, tearing it up. Killed him last season, averaging 9.8 assists against the Phoenix Suns. And rebounds, 14 boards. But Domantas Sabonis last season is a little bit different to who he is this season. He's not doing nearly the same amount of work, given they've got DeMar DeRozan now. So when DeMar DeRozan joins your team, you tend to see a drop-off in your assist numbers because he kills the ball. So Sabonis' assist line is at 6.5. He's hit this in 5 out of 9. He's averaging 7 assists per game. Difficult matchup against the Clippers. They're a very good defensive team. But this Phoenix Suns team is not too bad either. But they're missing KD. Ryan Dunn's a great defender. He's a game-time decision. And Yusuf Nurkic is their big man down low. The assist could potentially flow here for Domantas Sabonis. So I wouldn't talk you out of that. And rebounds, just take him for 10, add him to your parlay, and move on with your life. 2 more games to go. We've got the Grizzlies versus the Blazers. Grizzlies, they got everybody injured. Vince Williams, Spencer, John Morant, Gigi Jackson, Desmond Bain, Marcus Smart is a game-time decision, though. He could show up, and for Portland, Matisse Thybulle's a game-time decision. He could join. But, shit, who do you look at here? So there's some things I know. The Memphis Grizzlies play fast as hell. The Portland Trail Blazers defend the paint extremely well, but they're very weak to perimeter shooting. That's pretty much what you need to know. Now let's talk about it. Anthony Simons, his point line's 19.5. He's got a great matchup to score some points here against Memphis. They're one of the worst teams defending above the break, and they're bottom 10 in defending pick and roll ball handlers. But 19.5 could be a fair matchup when he has this fair line for this type of matchup. So looking at Anthony Simons, and if we filter out the top, let's filter out the top 15 teams at defending the pick and roll. So this is how Anthony Simons has gone against the bottom 15 teams at defending the pick and roll this season. He's averaging 22.8 points per game, and he's covered this in 4 out of 5. So Anthony Simons has a great matchup to score some points. 19.5 seems a little bit sharp, but you can't help but lean to the over, right? But you can apply similar types of filters to above the break threes, where Anthony Simons lives and where this Memphis team is the worst. So if we filter out the bottom, the top 15 teams there, he's averaging 21 points per game in these matchups, hitting this line in 3 out of 5. So the only team he's really placed, which is shit at both the pick and roll and above the break threes, is the New Orleans Pelicans, and he got scored 24, and he was getting hammered by Herb Jones in that game. Keep in mind, 24, 27, 24 points against them in a similar type of matchup. So Anthony Simons, probably could take him to score some points today. I think 15 is absolutely safe, but nothing safe when it comes to betting. Jeremy Grant, I don't know anybody in their right mind who bets on Jeremy Grant, and I don't want to, but his matchup's not too bad. Will he score against Memphis? Shit, I don't know. He scores as a spot-up shooter. Memphis, bottom 5 in allowing spot-up shooting. Keep that in mind. Got DeAndre Ayton here, points line 14.5. 5 out of 10 this season, averaging 14 points per game. Now, his matchup is a difficult one. He scores in the pick and roll. Memphis, top 10 in defending the pick and roll. He also scores in the paint, whereas Memphis, pretty good. And you can see it in the shot chart right here. Memphis, pretty good at defending everything, but above the break. So, DeAndre Ayton probably gets there, probably doesn't. But 14.5 kind of lets you know that the matchup is difficult, right? So I wouldn't avoid betting on these guys because the matchup is tough, and I wouldn't just start betting on players because the matchup is good, because you have to factor in that the line moves with the matchups. So just because we've got access to this data doesn't mean the sports books are missing out on it, right? So I'm sure they factor in the matchup in all their equations anyway. For Memphis, we got Jaren Jackson Jr., right? Number one guy. Usage rate should be through the roof with nobody else on this team. So all the key scorers are missing. Desmond Bane, now Ja Morant. And in that last game against Washington, he scored 39 points. Crazy, right? Now, Jaren Jackson Jr. scores as a spot up, but he also scores in the paint. That's where he likes to score. And this Portland Trailblazers team, like I said at the top, is only good at defending the paint, which is where Jaren Jackson Jr. wants to score his points, and they're terrible everywhere else. So as much as Jaren Jackson's usage rate is probably going to be high, tough as hell matchup, and 23.5 is high. It's a high line for Jaren Jackson Jr., and this matchup is somewhat difficult. But what that means is we've got a spread here. Memphis are favorites. We're looking at 225 points. So there's a couple players and thoughts that come to mind, but all their props aren't available. Scottie Pippen Jr. assists, I think, is an interesting look, because this Portland team, they do give up some assists, right? They don't give up points in the paint, but they give up some assists. They give up the third most assists in the league this season. So Scottie Pippen Jr. assists. We've got Santi Aldama as a scorer. He can shoot threes at a very high clip sometimes. 0 from 5 in his last game. 1 from 5 the game before that. 0 from 6 prior to that. 0 from 5 prior to that. Fuck me. Santi Aldama is colder than my nipples on a winter's morning. My God. All right. Santi Aldama not shooting quite well. Then that means it's this guy. Jalen Wells. This guy can make some threes. He gets hot and cold, but I think this could be the guy right here. I'm thinking Jalen Wells or Jake LaRavia off the bench. I think they could be some real good looks. But let's look at Jalen Wells real quick. So Jalen Wells scored 37% of his points above the break, right? Which means he's shooting a lot of three-pointers. This Portland team, terrible defending spot-up shooters. Jalen Wells scored 11 points in that last game. So only played 25 minutes in the blowout. Scored 20 against the Lakers. But let's look at the teams where he's had a good matchup. Bottom 15 teams above the break defense. So he's played 4 games against these shit teams. 1 against Utah. He scored 6 points in 23 minutes. Only took 6 shots in that game. Made 2 3-pointers. The Milwaukee Bucks, we know how bad they are defensively. 9 shots, 3 from 6 from downtown for Jalen Wells. 20 points against the Lakers. And then he scored 11 against the Washington Wizards in a blowout win, right? If it's not a blowout, I think someone like Jalen Wells sees 30 minutes. This game is predicted to be close. So I think Jalen Wells going to get his opportunities here. He doesn't score that much in the paint. I think he's going to take some threes. I wonder what his 3-point prop is actually. 1.5. Let's go. Now, he only made 1 3-pointer against the Washington Wizards, so keep that in mind. But He made 2 against Utah, 3 against the Bucks, 5 against the Lakers. And yeah, it could be a nice look here. Portland Trailblazers, where they allow the third most 3-point attempts. They're terrible at defending above the break threes. Their defensive rating is ass. They allow a lot of assists. So Jalen Wells to make 2 3-pointers probably isn't such a bad look. So include his 3-pointers or look at his points prop. I think Jalen Wells is a real interesting one. And then we've got Scottie Pippen Jr. Let's take a look at his assist prop. It's at 8.5. This is just crazy. Now he did get 11 assists against the Washington Wizards. So if we filter out the games and we look at the teams that allow the most assists and how he's performed against them, the problem is he's got a lot of minutes off the bench here. 22 minutes off the bench against Utah, had 7 assists. 10 assists against the Bulls, who play with a ton of pace. Everybody's going to get assists on them, which is nice. Brooklyn, he only played 20 minutes in that game. So in that last game against Washington, what did he do? 28 minutes. That was a blowout win. But let's take a look at games where he plays at least 25 minutes. Doesn't get too much better. He only had 4 assists against the Lakers. So, look, I probably lean to the over for Scottie Pippen Jr., but 8.5 is high. This man could get another triple-double. Who knows? But I think in this particular game, based upon what I'm seeing here, Anthony Simons to score some points is probably a good look. Jalen Wells, I do think that's a really interesting one. I think this one has potential, right? His line's at 10.5, but if you happen to get crazy with it and take him for 15, perhaps, like you can get some really good odds for Jalen Wells. But someone I'd wait for is Jake LaRavia off the bench for Memphis when his lines become available. I think that could be a real interesting look as well. All right, let's get into the last one. We've eclipsed an hour on my recording. Once I edit shit out, this is probably going to be over an hour, so I apologize. We've got the Raptors versus the Lakers, and we don't have too many markets available. For the Lakers, AD is a game-time decision. So is Jackson. I was going to make some domestic abuse jokes there, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. But Jackson Hayes a game-time decision as well. For the Raptors, still missing a lot of players, but Emmanuel quickly just made his return. He was pretty good in that game. But there's only markets available for RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl. So they also did play the last game on the slate. So back-to-back for the Raptors. Not overly keen for that. But I think Anthony Davis here, that's got to be the pick. 28.5 is the line. He's up against the Raptors, who he scored 38 points on last time. Anthony Davis been consistent as hell, scoring points, 32 a game this season. The Raptors been consistent as hell, allowing points to bigs. Now, they limited Zubac to 14 points. And I wouldn't even say that they limited him. Like, Zubac had so many chances to score more. Fortunately, James Harden didn't want to give him the ball. So Anthony Davis, on the other hand, the offense runs through him. It's very clear. It is obvious. And Anthony Davis, this Toronto Raptors team has nobody who can slow him down. So if you can get Anthony Davis, obviously the over, it just makes the most sense. Why do we have to complicate things? Averaging 32, he's hit this in 85% of the games this season. He's already eaten the Raptors alive once. There's nothing they can do. The only thing that's going to stop Anthony Davis from hitting this line is an injury and a blowout. Because if there's a blowout, he probably goes under because they're trying to rest him as much as they possibly can. So the Lakers 11-point favorites in this one. I don't know. Do you run with Anthony Davis, score 25 points, Lakers money line perhaps in the same game parlay? But put it this way. The Lakers, they're not blowing anybody out. They look like they were going to blow out some teams and they let them back in. It happened last time against the Raptors, had a massive lead. The Raptors came back. Actually, the Philly game, somewhat of a blowout. The Philly came back late in that one. But yeah, they're not giving me much confidence that they're going to cover the spread or blow teams out. This Raptors team, they work hard. A lot of these young guys, Grady Dick, Agbaji, they're playing well right now. You know, and they're not getting paid a whole lot of money in comparison to other NBA players. In comparison to me, it's chalk and cheese. But yeah, this Raptors team, they're finding a way to be competitive. They're 2-8 in the season, which is not great. But if they keep it close, Anthony Davis can have a big-ass game. He only had 11 rebounds against the Raptors last time, so I don't love his rebound prop. If anything, I'd look to lean to the under for that. But the points prop, I do like the over. But, you know, to play it safe, 25 points, Lakers money line perhaps could be a look. LeBronzo scored 27 against them last time, but what's he done? Assist-wise, 8.5's a line. Like, LeBron's line, like this, he's too good. His lines are too high. And as a LeBron hater, I find it difficult to bet the over on him because I'm a hater. What you gonna do? And for this Toronto Raptors team, if the lines are available, I think fading RJ Barrett right now could be a good look. So Emmanuel quickly just came back, right? And in this game against the Clippers, RJ Barrett played 30 minutes. He scored 13 points on 15 shots. He only had 3 assists. Like nothing was happening there. I know he's versing the Lakers today, and the Lakers are not great defensively, but points and assists. Like he had 45 points and assists last time against the Lakers, 33 points, 12 assists. Unbelievable. He sees them again, but there's no Emmanuel quickly. Maybe if we look at last season data is not going to be too helpful anyway. All right, we'll leave this as a lean. I think if it wasn't the Lakers, betting the under in RJ Barrett's points plus assists probably a good look because his usage rate is going to be so much lower. But this is the Lakers after all, not great defensively. RJ Barrett just killed him. Like you'd have to be a brave man to bet he's under based off that. And right now I'm not feeling too brave, so I'm gonna have to pass on that. But we've got a ton of games. That's a whole lot of analysis. Hopefully you found some value in it. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. Which picks do you absolutely love and what are you riding with today? If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. On the road to get 12,000 subs. I think I need 400 more. Now let's go. Let's do it. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to me. And best of luck to us. Let's go.